Hey everyone, Hallie here. Today I wanted to talk about something that is pretty interesting and I've seen quite a few people talk about, and it's the idea that Marvel Rivals is doing a better job than the MCU when it comes to introducing and bringing the spotlight onto characters that not many people know about. I'll leave a link in the description to the Reddit post that inspired me to make this video, but I wanted to kind of talk about it in my own perspective and give you guys some of my own thoughts. First of all, I'd like to look at the history of the MCU and just how meaningful these movies were in framing the pop culture knowledge and just zeitgeist, I suppose, of what these characters represent. A fantastic example, I think, is Iron Man. Back in 2008, Iron Man really just wasn't known about, and especially in the way that we know him today. But by casting Robert Downey Jr., creating an interesting story of this weapons arms dealer who realizes the pain of his weapons that they cause and wants to make a change, and the ingenuity that that takes, all of that coming together in such a fantastic story made Iron Man into an incredible character, and Iron Man 1 spawned an entire universe of movies where the Avengers were created, and we are in the current state of Marvel that we know now. And you can apply this to other characters than Iron Man. Iron Man is a very popular example, but for me personally, I think of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Before 2014, I had no idea who the Guardians of the Galaxy were. I never heard of them. They weren't in any video games to my knowledge or anything like that. But once that Guardians of the Galaxy movie dropped, everyone loved the Guardians because it is a good story with good writing and emotional hooks that get you invested in these characters and wanting to learn more about them. I feel like this could also be applied to Thor. There is a lot of mythological characters within Marvel as it is. Like Hercules is part of the Marvel universe. So is like Athena, whatever. Point being, there is a lot of just characters that really aren't known about, and especially when it's like pre-existing characters like an Asgard character from Norse mythology, it might be a little bit difficult for people to get invested in these characters. However, once again, when you have good writing and good story, you are able to do things like reinvigorate the idea of Thor in the idea of the modern pop culture zeitgeist. Like, that is crazy, and that just goes to show you that media has an influence on the characters that we see as popular and the characters that we want to see media out of. What made these new stories and all of these new characters so interesting was that they are new stories and new characters that you can get attached to and learn about. And it was something so unique, and it was just so interesting to learn about each character. And then when the first Avengers movie came out, when they all group up together, it was so cool. And it was fantastic. It was such great story building. But then came Endgame. Now, I want to say, I thought Endgame was a fantastic movie. I just think Endgame marked a point, and I'm sure many of you will agree with this, when Marvel started to go downhill. It's not for a lack of trying to introduce new characters. I mean, characters like Shang-Chi were a fantastic movie, and he's a good character, but he's just not used. Incredible characters like Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk. They got Disney Plus shows, but that's it. I'm not really too sure what marked a change in the post-Endgame Marvel universe. Maybe it was a change in writing that just made things less interesting. Maybe it was the pivot to more TV shows where you had to watch a 8-episode series if you wanted to know what was going on in the world of Marvel, instead of just having to watch like a 2-hour movie of your favorite character. Point being, even though the MCU used to introduce characters, and they still do, and they give these characters unique, interesting stories, and I think that's fantastic. I love diversity. I think we should have more characters of different stories. It's interesting. I think it's good to introduce new characters. However, when these characters aren't written well, and their shows are just kind of spammed out, and you aren't really building up any type of hype behind them, or anything like that, people lose interest. So let's talk about how Marvel Rivals shares similarities with the old MCU and how they're introducing new characters in a proper, smart way. First of all, each character has their own unique voice lines and unique gameplay. So already each character within Marvel Rivals is a unique blank slate. So it's already interesting to learn all of these new characters, just like it is to learn all of the new stories back in the day, or like whether you're reading comics or watching a movie, it's almost the same thing as learning a new character within a video game, and, even just hearing their voice lines and what they're like to play is a pretty similar experience. And not to mention when these designs are so unique and so well tuned and just super fun and interesting to learn and just kind of deep dive into them, it makes it so much more fun to play new characters and just learn characters that, maybe you love Iron Man, but maybe you're interested in playing a character like Squirrel Girl who you have never heard of. I think Marvel Rivals is just a fantastic medium to introduce these lesser known characters and have people excited and engaged with them. Which is something that the Marvel Universe used to have, where they would introduce these new characters and be really interesting, but now it just feels like bloat. Whereas in Marvel Rivals, these new characters being added feel very well-tuned and just feel fantastic to play. So that's one thing. Marvel Rivals does a fantastic job of making each character's design unique and fun to learn, almost similar to, reading a new comic or watching a movie you haven't seen for the first time and learning the story there. I mean, characters like Magic are just not ever seen in live action, and it is so fun to see her, not only in video games, but especially in Marvel Rivals, where she has unique voice lines with each character, and it's just such a great medium to introduce new people to a character that they have never heard of. Similar to how Marvel movies back in the day used to introduce people to new characters they haven't heard of and would make them interested in, seeing them more in the future or maybe buying some of their old comics. It is the exact same thing. People are playing these Marvel Rivals characters and they're like, dang, Squirrel Girl is pretty cool and I had no idea she existed. Or, hey, Luna Snow is pretty cool. I had no idea she existed. I'd love to see her in live action. Or maybe I should pick up some of her old comics. That is the type of thing Marvel movies back in the day used to do. And Marvel media just doesn't do that anymore, but that's why I think Marvel Rivals has such a unique fit in the current place in history right now, as it is reinvigorating Marvel characters and making the lesser known characters more interesting, which I think is awesome. One thing I just want to mention too about Marvel Rivals that I think is so fun is you truly embody these characters as their abilities are unique to what that character would do. For example, Punisher, he has a bunch of guns, you shoot people. That's the whole Punisher thing. Magic, she has her sword and her limbo abilities. Like, all of these abilities fit the characters. They're so well designed, and that's what makes people interested. It's okay to have new things, but you need to make them interesting. You need to give them character, and I think Marvel Rivals does such a fantastic job with that. So I have compared the start of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how they used to do such a fantastic job of introducing new characters and even just kind of reimagining characters like Iron Man, and how they kind of have just tapered off ever since Endgame, and comparing that to Marvel Rivals, where it is such a fantastic medium to introduce new characters and something we just really haven't seen, at least in Marvel, in quite a while, or at least to such a substantial degree. So, going from here, after we have compared the two, I think it'd be interesting to look to the future and think of what Marvel Rivals could mean for the future of the MCU. First of all, as I've said all throughout this video, I think Marvel Rivals is a fantastic medium to introduce new people to new characters and just get them to expand their horizons of what they know. Yes, the Avengers are super cool, but what about the young Avengers? What about characters like the Guardians of the Galaxy? What about Luna Snow? It is a fantastic medium for opening people's horizons and introducing them to new characters. I personally think that Marvel Rivals will be used as a platform to build hype for possibly new Marvel movies or collaborations of the sort. For instance, in Season 1 of Marvel Rivals, it was all about the Fantastic Four. Of course, this is probably trying to build hype for the new Fantastic Four movie. Of course, this is just kind of a theory, but due to the fact that Marvel Rivals recently released, I think that's why they're introducing the Fantastic Four early on. I know that Marvel has the Daredevil show going on, so you may make the argument, well, if they were trying to promote their shows and whatnot, why wouldn't they make a Daredevil character? Or well, Thunderbolts is coming out next, not the Fantastic Four. Why wouldn't they make, like, the Sentry into a character, or the Red Guardian, or any of those characters? Well, I think that kind of just comes down to the fact that this game just released, but I certainly do see in the future collaborations coming about. I think it's possible we could see new characters coming out alongside big movies. And I think by introducing people to these new characters and kind of just showing them that they exist in Marvel Rivals before they hit the big screen is a pretty interesting way to build rapport early on and get people interested into these characters in a way that really comics only could do before, but now there's a new medium outside of comics and TV shows and movies, video games, that people can learn about these characters and enjoy them from. So my conclusion, do I think that Marvel Rivals will save the MCU and overtake it? Well, it's certainly a tool that they have. I'm not sure if it will save the MCU, but I think it will be used in the future as something to help build rapport with people, as I'm sure Marvel has to be realizing that characters like Squirrel Girl and Luna Snow were never known about but prior to this game's release, at least to the degree that they are now. But now that Marvel Rivals has released and these characters are given unique personalities and people just have fun with them and can relate to them, it's so awesome. It's introduced these characters to such a wider audience, and I think that's fantastic. So yeah, I don't know if it will save the MCU, but I think it is a tool they can use to make people more interested in the universe for sure. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. I thought this was just kind of an interesting video to make. I think Marvel Rivals does such a fantastic job doing what the MCU used to be able to do, and I think it's really interesting how we are seeing that re-emerge. I'm so happy that more people are able to experience new stories about these characters that are so good, and I love it. I love that people are able to experience new stories. I think, you know, the more the merrier. Give us all the new characters, so that, because I mean, they're so cool. There's so many unique, cool characters in Marvel. So let me know what you all thought of this video. What characters do you think will be added to Marvel Rivals that people might, I don't know, enjoy? I think certainly Doctor Doom will be added to hype up Doomsday, but let me know. Did you guys agree with what I said in this video? Do you think Marvel Rivals has reinvigorated that love for new characters, or do you disagree? Let me know down in the comments below. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching to the very end of this video. I know this was a longer one, but I thought it was really fun to yap about this, so let me know what you all thought down in the comments below. And with that being said, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.